Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to determine the best movie for any given year. This season we are covering 1973. I'm your host, Greg, and if I sound a little extra jazzed tonight, it's because Ryan's daughter, Parker, for the first time ever, realized what a cool dude I am, and we just hung out, and she smiled at me so much, and this is probably one of the greatest moments of my life. Ryan, do you think you can... We're doing a movie called The Harder They Come, by the way. Ryan, do you think that that is going to like sustain you and get you extra points in this show?
Oh yeah. Anytime,
Ryan.
Greg.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Make a friend.
Ryan.
I have some advice though. Next time you meet somebody new, Greg, you immediately told her that you like wearing shorts, and then you had nothing. Like you revealed everything there's to know about Greg immediately.
Yeah.
Hold back some of it.
Well, she looked at her own pants, and she was like, she pointed to them, and she's like, pants. And I was like, yes. And then she pointed to mine, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm a shorts guy. That was a tenuous moment in our new friendship. I was very afraid. Mike, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, you are our second competitor today. This is a game show, by the way.
My kid doesn't love you, so fuck me.
I love your dog, though.
Thank you. She would hate you.
Yeah, that's true. It takes a while to get to know me, and usually a bribe is involved. But, Mike, do you think it's unfair that Ryan is getting bonus points just because his daughter was nice to me?
No, you know what? I get to sleep through the night. I sleep in sometimes. I get to do whatever I want whenever I want. He needs it, is what I'm saying.
Yet another childless person making their entire personality about how they don't have a child.
It's so funny.
That's just the flip side of what you do. Oh, look, I have a kid. I have to make sure she's breathing and eating.
I love her so much. She completes my life.
I've never said any of those things.
Do you know what completes my life? Going to fucking France whenever I want, bitch.
Boom. And how often, Mike, would you say you go to France whenever you want?
I'm going in a couple months, Greg.
Well, there you
So
go.
every 3 years, I'd say. Because come on, I have to make money.
Come on.
I'm not rich.
Well, we got to get to this show, gentlemen. We can't just sit around and talk about the fact that I am now Ryan's daughter's favorite person in the world.
There will be more evidence. There's probably more evidence tomorrow when I get her dressed and she says those 3 magical words.
Which is?
I want shorts. If she does that, that's Greg inspired.
Listen,
Do you
the
think
shorts,
she'll quote him? I'm a shorts girl now.
the shorts agenda is real. We are coming for your fucking kids, and we're going to put them in shorts, okay? They are so comfortable, and this is even for formal occasions I'm talking about.
Sure.
Yeah, it's shorts all over.
Your nice pressed shorts.
Also, we're recording this at the start of November, which in 2023 is what we call summer part 2.
Yep.
So it's shorts weather all year round. And
It is harvest summer in Southern California.
It is summer all the time. We did it, everybody. We changed the climate. Woo!
Just like the Postal Service predicted in 2003. We love it. We feel like we're being rewarded.
Gentlemen, the movie we are doing tonight is 1973's for our purposes, The Harder They Come. I personally, before this season, had no history with this movie. Did either one of you gentlemen have any sort of history with this movie?
I just knew it as the reggae movie.
The reggae movie.
Yeah, like I knew I had heard of Jimmy Cliff as an artist, right? Reggae probably has the fewest amount of household name stars of any genre. There's Sublime, and then there's Sublime with Rome.
That's a big
Well, there's... Oh, don't forget the Long Beach Dub All-Stars.
Of course.
You can't.
And so Jimmy Cliff was one of them. And I knew that he had broken out. And if you look at the world the way that most Americans do, through the eyes of America, reggae broke out through The Harder They Come.
Yes.
And so I had known it in that way. But I had never seen it before. I had seen Tuki Buki before this. And
we got to talk about Tuki Buki, everybody.
And now I can say with authority that now that we're, I think, far past the halfway point of the season, that Tuki Buki could have taken this entire fucking season down.
The award I almost submitted to the board was times you were most pissed that Mike voted for The Harder They Come instead of Tuki Buki. That would be a real Ryan award.
I was pissed. I was complaining to my wife about it. They made me make the decision. I didn't know what to do. The exact situation was I had not seen Tuki Buki, and I had watched The Harder They Come. Ryan, if you had been in that situation where you had seen one of them and you knew that you liked it a lot, wouldn't it be hard to set that aside just because the other person's saying that a movie that they've seen the other one, they haven't seen your movie? Like, what was I to do?
Is there somebody on the show that has never called themselves a movie expert, but everybody on the show had called them a movie expert? And also, I want to be clear here. Greg did not have the decision. Greg had said, I am going to vote first. I'm voting for The Harder They Come because I have seen it. Then I said, I've seen Tuki Buki. Let me explain it to you.
Uh-huh.
And
No.
then Mike on his phone, going through like Facebook or MySpace, Greg said, Mike, we need to have a vote. And he was like, oh, I don't know the reggae one.
Without even looking up.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't even look up.
Maybe interest me more, you fucks. No, if I remember, Greg
You
had a
sound like
very
my
well
students.
thought out, coherent argument for why The Harder They Come, how it affected him. And Ryan's like, Tuki Buki, Jay-Z and Beyonce did a poster based on it. Come on. And so be more compelling, bitch.
I'm sure that's exactly word for word the only thing I said.
Roll to the tape. And by that, I mean, listeners, go back and listen to
Please go back and roll that tape.
We're not going to do it.
I do have to say, I had that thing going on when I was watching this movie where I was like sweating bullets because if it's like that where you put on a song for somebody and then you just stare at them. Because like,
hey, don't do that. Just send them the song. Don't be in the room with them.
There is a very charming, like, kind of film school or like you can really see the edges in this movie. Like, and I was just like, oh gosh, I hope that they're not just. I hope the acting isn't getting to them. Oh man, they're gonna hate me.
I had a baseball bat with Tuki Buki written on it, and I would just smack it against my hand the entire time I was watching this. No, Tuki Buki is high art. One of the best films we'll never watch for the show.
A thing we've never done, and maybe we could talk about off air instead of an on air meeting, but Daddy likes on air meetings. We have 3 nuclear keys in our hands. We could just at the end of the season be like, nope, one of these 60 movies was trash. 3 keys in, do an extra movie. Tuki Buki's in the change to the format 5 years in, bros.
This isn't the movie that's trash though.
No. I'm saying we could pick a movie from the 16.
Well, we could do that, but wouldn't that kind of?
Yeah, I mean that I do think that ruins the format. I think that if here's another thing we could do, Mike, pay attention in the intro shows.
What?
This is not an intro show, so Mike.
My history with this movie is a good friend of mine made a very compelling argument of why it should be part of the bracket. Some guy was a dick about it. No, do you know it was delightful? I'd heard the name Jimmy Cliff. I never really connected to that, and I never had a reggae phase. One of the few phases I didn't have. No, that's not true. I had a heavy Bob Marley and the Wailers phase.
And Ryan and I had a pretty big Sublime phase again. Big reggae heads over here. So I think we all get it.
But you weren't into Sublime without Rome or Bradley.
When Bradley died, so did my interest in the band. Unfortunately,
that's fair.
Of course, I'm a huge Jim Rome fan.
Not halfway.
Our greatest reggae artist.
When The Harder They Come starts, and all week when I was like, I'm going to watch The Harder They Come, and I was singing the song, I was like, did I make up this song? Why do I know a song that has this name? And he starts singing, I was like, holy shit, I forgot about this song.
I made up this song.
I
fucking love
my
it.
song in the past.
Put it in a movie.
Yeah, I knew the song, and I fucking, it's a great reggae song.
I think that, and we're going to get into the music of it all later, but I think it's important to note now that we all grew up only or mostly in Southern California, and our Sublime roots. We should not even talk about Sublime again for the rest of the show.
Honestly,
it's going to stop being the joke and turn into how we.
Our Bob Marley roots. Like, I think that reggae gets a lot of shit because of Southern California stoners and 3 Bob Marley songs.
Yeah,
and this is in part a great
and
movie.
The Wailers.
And let us not forget the Wailers. The Hartford Wailers was his backup group for a long time. But now that we have seen the movie and do not need to discuss Tuki Buki anymore, there's no reason to attach Tuki Buki to this movie henceforth. Rollicking good time. Just fantastic time at the theater, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe not as fun as it is to see Django in the theater, but still a good time.
Oh, man. I've never had as much fun in a movie as they had watching Django.
So that's Ryan's general impressions. Obviously, I liked it enough to make like what one panelist has called the most persuasive of arguments of all time about its greatness. Mike, what is your general impression?
I loved so much about this movie. I would say
caveat. I hear caveat.
I loved, I'd say, 2/3 of this movie.
All right. Well, I think that puts you right there with Roger Ebert, and we will cover that and so much more after what one panelist has called the quickest of breaks. Set in Jamaica, The Harder They Come is a drama about an aspiring singer, Ivan, desperate for fame, who, disillusioned by corruption in every part of daily life, becomes involved in some reefer madness. Unfortunately, that trade is controlled by the same group of dickheads that run everything else on the island, and really the world. It's just always these dickheads that fuck everything up. Anyway, Ivan's life spirals as a result, but his fame grows and grows. The worse he is, the more people want to listen to his songs or throw cans at his enemies. But he breaks pretty bad in the end and goes on something of a killing spree until he's gunned down by the army, who dishonorably refuses his offer of single combat. There is this transition point about 45 minutes where the movie goes from this sleepy little drama to something closer to blaxploitation. Did this transition work for you, or did you find yourself missing the beginning of the movie?
I love the beginning of the movie so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beginning of the movie is so fantastic and transportive to a time,
different time and place, right? Like, you're there.
A time will never be at a place will probably never be, right? Like, if most people go to Jamaica, like, they don't see this part.
No, they go to
Jamaica.
Sandals.
Right. They take pictures of their girlfriend topless and then accidentally email it to everyone that they shouldn't.
We've all been there.
They probably get cornrows on the beach, which is like, honestly, white people have done some gnarly things, but that is right up there.
One of the worst. And then the little seashells in them. Come on, white people.
And like this was a decision, and it was a bold decision, and it's one that I did enjoy. But here's the problem: I think that the Jamaican neo-realism genre that he was creating in the first 45 minutes could have lasted 2 hours and several more movies, and the turn that it took lasted sporadically throughout the rest of this movie, or it didn't. It lasted, it kind of sputtered out towards the end. It just didn't have enough to get us past the finish line.
Yeah, the first 2/3, like we said, it's so rare that you feel like lived in a place, and it feels of a piece with like French New Wave films. Like, I'm just throwing you in here, I'm building it, you can taste this place, you can smell it, and then the adaptation ending is, you've seen this in a bunch of movies. Nothing really is new anymore. Anything that we were building is kind of dead. And I lost my train of thought, and that's going to happen. You know what happened? I'm mimicking what the movie did.
Shocking, though, for 1973 to be, for a low budget, like, let's all get the gang together and shoot a movie, for really the first time in history to have a bunch of Jamaicans make a Jamaican movie. To have an ending that's meta, though, whether it worked or whether it didn't, I thought that it wasn't just like, oh, let's have that same old ending. It was original.
I have to say, this is the thing everybody says about this movie. Roger Ebert said it, and you know that, like, spiritually, he is at the very center of our understanding of film here on this podcast. I have to say, though, this is the story they set out to tell. It was always going to be about this guy who goes on a crime spree, and it's not that the movie becomes that. The movie is about what happens when everything on an island is already owned, when there's no space for anybody new, anybody on the come up, when the, like, for lack of a better term, gerontocracy has basically grabbed everything, and everybody at the top is already in place, and they've set up a complete network under them. And it's like, what is Ivan supposed to do? Not saying it's okay to go around shooting everybody, but the movie is exploring.
This is America, Greg. Yes, it is.
The movie is exploring what happens when there's no opportunities, and when you.
Yes, but I'll say it is certainly about that.
Half
but
improv.
I'm the first half improviser. But Ivan also is an unfillable maw. And his mom calls him out. She's like, if you stay in the city, this is what will happen. Then she tells us the plot of the movie, which is crazy. But Ivan, he's doing the best he's ever done, does not trust Jose, and he's like, I want more. And Jose's like, bro, you're doing pretty well. Remember how you used to ride around on a trash bike and now you have a car? Like, just wait a little. I know paying your dues is such an annoying phrase and stuff, but like I do think he could have waited and worked his way up. But anytime he gets into a new situation, he's like, "Why don't I get mine right now? I will kill somebody until I do."
Okay, let's get to Ivan in a second, but just to Greg's point first about the situation that all of them, and especially a country mouse, right? Like all of these city mice are they were born there, and
and the spirit of this movie is about country versus city.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like it very specifically starts with him moving from the country, gonna eat him a lot of
His
mangoes.
last mango.
Yeah.
I gotta say this for my mom. And then he shows up at his mom's place, and she's like, "Did you bring me a mango?" And he's like, "Ooh, no mangoes this time. Come on, Ivan. You ate that mango."
His very first interaction is with a city mouse who's like, "Hey, help me push this cart. I'll give you a ride." It's not even like I'll give you a ride. I'll put your suitcases on my cart. You help me push. You help me do my job.
And I'll show you
and
where
I'll
the
give you
street
directions.
is that you're looking for.
And then also, hey, look at that guy. That guy owes me money. Go hustle him down for money. And then I'm going to steal all your fucking shit immediately. My first seconds in the city.
Right.
And I'm going to show you exactly how it works.
This is what
it's a little...
This is what conservatives think every city really is.
Right, because that's what they would do, because they're awful. It does feel like the city mice are just waiting for a country's mouse to show up, so they're no longer the bottom rung, right?
Yeah. This is, for anybody who is from the country coming to the city, say you're from the city.
Yeah. Oh, I'm from a different city?
It's very interesting. The very first thing that happens in this movie is a bus and a truck try to both cross a bridge at the same time, and there's not enough room for both of them, and so they get stuck. And someone in the back of the bus yells out, "Bus driver, do not get out of the way. Like, we're not going to give an inch here."
Right.
And I think that does an interesting, like, that really kind of sets up the feel of the movie, which is that there's this intractable situation, and neither side wants to give, and there's just not enough room for everybody. And that is being created by this like enforced scarcity.
I think there's this other thing going on too that it didn't really click with me until the second time I watched it. Good job, dude.
I did it.
The second time I watched the movie, where because I really only think about one book while watching movies, is
the Bible. Same here, buddy.
This guy got on the bus and he's driving into the city, past the big cars with all the girls, past all the ads about gasoline, and we are in a sense watching Jamaican Gatsby, right? Where
I thought it was The Great Brain. Damn it.
It's a different great book. Where like we have to get through all of the muck to get into what he thinks is going to be all of the stuff that makes him great, where he's going to create this new life, and so Ivan, I think, thinks of himself as this Jay. It's just that all of these speed bumps come in his way because of the stuff that Greg was talking about. Like we've filled every hole that you could possibly bring yourself up on.
There's a brutal moment where he's like trying to get jobs still. I don't think he's landed with the preacher's house yet. He's trying to get jobs, and he just walks into a rich people's backyard, and the woman's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I just want a job. I can do this. No, I have somebody who does that. I can do this. No, I have somebody who does that." And then he's like, "Just give me 10 cents then. I don't know." And she's like, "What's wrong with all you young, healthy boys? You just beg, beg, beg." And then we get a brutal montage of like, "Well, here's why, lady."
Well, no, we at this point we have watched him try to get a job, right? We have watched him be like chased off.
But it zooms out and it shows you that it is island wide, or at least city wide in Kingston. There's a few. This is one of the best use of montages throughout this movie, and this one is so brutal, showing you how rough it is. Is everybody is trying. Rich folks,
they're
there's
trying to work.
Nothing.
He doesn't want a handout at first. He wants just a job. He wants he's willing to do anything. Like, I'll shake down this guy for money if that's what you want. I'll pick up in the yard. And he kind of, when he goes and talks to that rich lady, he kind of, it's hanging out there that he's like, "No, I will do anything. I'm a young
I thought
guy."
we were about to be on red porn.
He's clearly relying on
step cousin. What are you talking about?
He's clearly relying on his Ivanness already, right?
Yeah.
His star power. He thinks that he has that. Whether he's a great musician, we don't really know. But we do know that since he's the star of the movie and believable as a star, like we buy that he's the star of the movie that we're watching, that he's relying on that to get him through, that this lady's going to be like, "Oh my God, is that Ivan?
Right.
Come in. I'm going to make you some sweet
We said
tea."
no Jamaican accents on the show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ryan.
Was that
no
too good?
patois.
Do you guys remember that viral clip of that? I think it was a British reality show where they're like, do a Jamaican accent. She was like, "Ah!"
She tried to do all of it at the same time.
But like he's surprised when she's not like, come on in. And then the cherry on the top of that scene is that she just walks over and yells at somebody off screen who didn't close the gate, yelling at some other person who's luckier than Ivan, to have a job to get screamed at by this rich lady. But yeah, there's nothing that the Ivan personality, the star flair can get. He gets on a line. We're gonna spend so much time talking about the first 45 minutes of this movie. And he gets
the good part.
He gets in line for a construction job, and the guy's like, "What skills do you have?" He's like, "I'm fucking Ivan, baby. Like I'm Ivan, Like I don't have any skills, but
I
like
sing really well.
Give me a shot. I will do it. Just give me a shot." And they're like, "We want skilled work. What do you mean you're Ivan?"
What I love about Ivan, and it hurts so much, and you can't change it and ruin the movie, is buddy, you've heard 5 people ahead of you say, "Well, I can do this skill," and they fall in, or they go, "I don't know," and they get sent away. Maybe stop being like, "I'm Ivan." Be like, "Yeah, I can hammer wood too."
Yeah.
No. What did the guy who got let in say? Say you can do that.
But if they go, "Can you pour concrete?" and you say yes, and then they're like, "Go pour that concrete," and you're like, "Oh God, here we go."
Well, I'd be like, "Well, we do it different in the country. I'm just gonna watch you for a second, and then okay, you do the same thing. Cool.
When we come back, it's time to get trivial. It is time for trivia.
Ryan.
Yes,
it is, Greg.
Yes, it is.
Mike.
Very good. I will read the question. Wait until I have said all the parts of the question, including the part where my voice goes like this. And then the answer is whatever I say it is. So if you think you know the answer because maybe you think it's obvious, I might have a little trick up my sleeve. Question the first. What is this movie said to have, quote, brought to the world?
Mike.
Ryan.
Mike.
Reggae.
Very good.
Mike.
What was that, Mike?
I would like 2 brats, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm actually recording while I'm walking, and I'm ordering dinner.
This movie features famous reggae singer Jimmy Cliff. What was his previous acting experience before this?
Mike.
Ryan.
Nothing?
Mike.
Not nothing, Mike.
Like student films.
Yep, student films. He had been in some productions at school.
Ryan.
Mike.
Ryan.
The Jamaican version of Pinocchio where he played Jiminy Cliffgit.
Yeah, dude. If these were school productions, there's some stupid ones like that. I played the Tooth Fairy.
I was a haberdasher in Taming of the Shrew.
Speaking of Jimmy Cliff, please explain the origin of reggae doing an impression of Cliff Clavin from Cheers.
I'm sorry. What? Can you repeat the question?
Speaking of Jimmy Cliff, please explain the origin of reggae doing an impression of Cliff Clavin from Cheers.
Ryan. The origin of reggae, they say it came from when the early medieval times when there was a guy named Ray and a guy named Gay, and they ran into each other.
Ryan.
You get the point. That did sound just like Cliff Clavin, and the way it didn't really have like a correctness to the answer, very much like Cliff Clavin. How old was Jimmy Cliff when he recorded his first hit single? Mike.
26.
Not 26. That sounded like a guess, Mike.
What? No.
Ryan? The single was called, okay, sorry, I'm going to give Ryan a little bit extra. The single was called Hurricane Hattie, if that helps you.
The single was called I'm 13 and I love it.
Ryan.
13. Not 13. He was much older than that. He was actually 14 years old.
What?
How was this movie received in Jamaica?
Mike.
They
fucking loved it.
Yeah, it was basically
Mike.
It was basically like the Rialto thing. They were just like, this is us. Like, this is the way we talk. This is what we care about.
I mean, the first Jamaican FUBU movie of all time. Literally of all time.
Yeah.
That's going to go over well.
The film was possibly the first English-language movie in the history of the United States to require what?
Mike.
Ryan.
Subtitles.
Ryan.
The main character is named Ivanhoe. What is the novel Ivanhoe about?
Ryan.
Ryan.
Mountains.
It's not about mountains. It is about a knight, and it is credited with getting people really interested in the medieval period.
Oh, so it's like the Top Gun for the Navy.
Definitely. Ivan is referenced in the hit song "The Guns of Brixton." Which punk band performed "Guns of Brixton"?
Mike.
Ryan.
Mike.
The Clash.
The Clash.
Mike.
Who else recorded this song?
Mike.
Ryan.
Ryan.
Me first in the Gimme Gimmes.
That's not the answer I'm looking for, so I'm going to say no.
I bet they did,
Mike.
though. Jimmy Cliff.
Jimmy Cliff.
Mike.
Jiminy
That was a
Cliff.
guess.
What is cola wine?
Mike.
Mike.
So when I was in grad school, a bartender at a trash bar I used to go to with friends was like, I know it sounds awful, but you're going to love it. Mix half cola, half red wine on ice. Yeah, and it's delicious.
Mike.
So should we drink this?
Ryan.
I'm into
Right.
it.
No.
Ryan.
Mike.
No, actually, we should drink it. People are like, it's one of those things that people are like, okay, maybe this doesn't sound good, but these flavors are actually very well paired. And a lot of people say, especially if you have like a trash red wine,
Yeah.
that mixing it with some Coca-Cola. I thought when they were talking about it, I thought it was wine that had cocaine in it, which to me sounds like something I wouldn't try anymore. But
Well, I want to be able
also-
to taste wine, and I think if Coke was in it,
Yeah,
you wouldn't
right.
be
Like,
able to.
I always wondered that about Coca-Cola. Like, would you just take a sip and your whole mouth would go
Oh,
numb?
no.
Cocaine, the greatest taste known to man. Ivanhoe is based on a real Jamaican gangster with one notable difference. What is the difference?
Mike.
Mike.
He was like in the 40s.
Okay, that is a difference. I should give
Mike.
a point for that. Any other notable differences?
Ryan.
Ryan.
He was not into music.
He was not a singer, no.
He hated music.
Ryan.
And then I'll tell you one last one because I just watched an interview with writer-director
Percy Hazel.
Perry Henzell. And he said
Different
also,
person.
this one really surprised me. He said also he was not really that much of a folk hero.
Mm.
That people were really into the story because he was going around shooting people up and it was exciting and gave everybody something to talk about. But it was not like this, like, you're so cool, dude. People were like,
Is
maybe you
that
shouldn't just
who Give Him Something to Talk About the song is about? The not famously not reggae song?
classic reggae song.
I love the idea though of like Jimmy Cliff and Ivanhoe. They combined them for this movie. Like,
Yeah.
let's take Dangerous Criminal and then me and combine them. And so he does all this crazy killer badass stuff and then records a podcast every once in a while. And then we combine the two characters.
That's what else Henzell said. Henzell said that he like let Jimmy Cliff kind of take the character and then not rewrite him, but like he changed the character so that it would fit Jimmy Cliff better,
That's smart.
which I thought I thought that was a good move because Jimmy Cliff, he's like, well, Jimmy Cliff knows what it's like to be in the music industry, so I kind of leaned on him for that. What movie plays in the theater?
Ryan.
Django.
Fully
What's
chained.
the significance? What's the significance of that, you figure?
Mike.
Ryan.
Mike.
They say Ivan and his friend are talking. Like, he's going to die. And he's like, no. He's the hero. He can't die till the last reel. Spoiler!
What do you say, Ryan?
I think that it's a movie done cheaply, an exploitation movie where we get our nationality, our people. Finally, we get to see our people on screen killing who we consider to be the bad guys or the authority. I think that we get to cheer people. Unfortunately, it is the revisionist version of Django Harder They Come is because
Yeah.
we'll talk about the ending of Harder later. But yeah, I think that there's a ton of connections. But still, we want to make the crowd go crazy with Harder They Come, which is have the same effect that Django had on Jimmy and the director when they were kids.
A lot of people when Django came out are like, this is not a good movie because it's too violent, and that's kind of what people liked about it. So I felt like there was that kind of mirrored my reaction to this movie. It's not that the violence was my favorite part. I just thought it flowed more organically than most people do. And it's interesting both those movies have that same complaint about them.
I also read today that Django had 30 sequels.
Whoa.
Wow.
Is that the
That's
most?
a lot of sequels.
Pump them out, baby.
Django from 1966 is a loose retelling of what samurai movie? Ryan.
I'm going to say The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
No, sir. Mike, any guesses?
Mike, the Seven Samurai.
Not the Seven Samurais. It's Yojimbo.
Yo,
Guys,
Jimbo.
Jimbo.
What are we
If
on
you
the
haven't-
streets of Philly?
Bring
Yo-
me that beef jerky.
Yojimbo means the bodyguard, and if you haven't seen this movie, you should check it out. He rolls into a town, and there's two rival factions, just like in Django, and basically he's like, I could make some money off of this, and he sets the two rival factions off against each other, and then has them destroy each other, and helps each side to destroy the other.
That sounds dope.
The only movie I've seen like that is a Bruce Willis remake called Last Man Standing
All right, there you go.
in the 1920s. The only Yojimbo I fuck with has 2 long ears and is a rabbit, and his name is Usagi.
I do believe that he is a reference to this character. He's also like, instead of being like this like samurai that's like very fastidious about his appearance, he's like totally like a schlub. I love it so much. It's a great movie. Check it out. And it's got a sequel, and I cannot remember the name of the sequel. In the original cut of The Harder They Come, what is different about the lashing scene?
Ryan, there's piss and shit?
No, it's like that, but no.
Mike, more
Mike.
blood.
Not more blood. In the original cut, you see his full dick, and in the way it was phrased when I heard that you saw his full dick is it becomes apparent that he's definitely peeing. So I think you see his peeing dick, which would have to be like kind of a first in cinema history, right?
I don't think that's legal by. I mean, it's not like penetration's like the ultimate.
Yeah.
You cannot
it
show,
is.
but
Oh.
settle down, buddy.
We are big penetration fans here.
But as much as you can't show a penis going into things, I also think that you can't show things coming
coming
out of
out.
penises.
Yeah, and so they were like, no way, man. People can't know about the secret function of the penis.
Was he cut? Do you know?
I don't know, actually. That's an interesting question.
When you find out, let me know.
Trivia.
But yeah, it hasn't really survived the kind of the reprint in 2006. They made some changes, and that was a big one. You no longer see a peeing dick.
Also,
in it.
did he come? And if so, how hard? Was it the hardest? The harder?
Good, those are good questions.
Mike.
Mike.
And
Those
Mike
are
does
Mike
not-
points.
Mike
for sure.
does not know the answer. This movie's poster appears on the main character's walls in what Jordan Peele movie?
Ryan.
Ryan?
I am going to say Get Out.
Mike.
Nope. Mike?
Nope.
Yep.
Mike.
It is a nope. In 2004, The Harder They Come was ranked what on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs? You each get one guess. Closest wins.
Price is Right rules?
Price is Right rules, yeah. Closest without going over.
Ryan.
Ryan?
1.
Mike?
13.
It is 341.
Why would I go first? That was so fucking dumb.
I would just say 1. 500 is so many.
Yeah, all he had to is that too high or too low?
It's a great song.
Yeah,
it is
I'd
like
say too low.
It definitely doesn't follow that Studio 60 thing of we're the funniest show on earth and then just have the worst skits of all time.
Oh man, yeah.
Studio 60 sucks.
It's
guys.
crazy. Studio 60 showed that Aaron Sorkin had never deigned to watch a comedy because he thought comedy was beneath him.
Should it be called Greg-A?
Mike.
Mike?
No.
Mike.
It should not. No. It shouldn't. Should it though?
Ryan.
Ryan?
Yes, I think it
Honestly,
should.
yeah. I kind of think that.
Ryan.
I don't know. But should it
Mike.
though? Mike, can I finish the freaking question?
Oh, that should be a negative point.
But should it?
Ryan.
though? Ryan!
Oh,
Jesus,
shit.
could I just answer the? But should it though?
Ryan.
Ryan?
No.
It really should not.
Yeah.
That would be.
Ryan.
The question is a little offensive,
Mhm.
honestly, and then to pose it so many times, I'm not sure. Well, that's the end of trivia. When we come back, it's time to return to talking about The Harder They Come. If you've heard of this movie today, it's probably for its reputation as the movie that introduced reggae to the States, or as we consider calling it, Greg-A. Whether that's true or not, how important is Hensel and Cliff's use of reggae to the movie? Would it have worked as well if he was a wannabe country star or a wannabe golfer?
I've always struggled with the term musical. Like, there's a lot of. I always think that it's you stop the plot to continue the plot, or you stop the dialogue to continue the plot through singing. That's what I think of a
Yeah.
musical, right? So, like,
And
so
the people in it aren't really singing in their reality, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or like Chicago is one where like they are on a stage all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Little Shop, that like their the reality adapts. But things like That Thing You Do, I've never considered a musical.
No.
This is the first movie I've watched where I'm like, no, this is a musical because the way that it leans on music so much to tell its story that my definition of musical might have been wrong this entire time.
So will that make you rethink That Thing You Do?
I don't rethink anything, Mike, and you know that about me.
We are
do know that
proud
about-
modern
it's actually-
Americans. We have our opinions, and we are not reconsidering them.
My favorite thing about Ryan.
We have the
I
facts,
just-
and we're not voting at all.
the difference between musical and music driven. I think it is music driven. I don't know if I would call it a musical. I don't want to be
Mike.
hurt here, and thankfully I was not.
Wait, like by me throwing a bottle at your head, or what do you
Yeah,
mean by
I
hurt?
was afraid. I've seen what bottles can do because of this movie.
I know, man. Those guys went straight from talking it out to
They're
fucking
laughing a
stabbing.
little. I think why it is so important that it's reggae is that it feels new, because the first group we see stopped Mr. Hilton
Yeah.
does a sort of like somewhere
Doo-wop
between
or-
gospel doo-wop barbershop quartet thing, and then it does feel like it's not that Ivan is the first, but he's on the early wave of like, no, this is that new sound. You're gonna want to hear it.
Also,
It's the sound you've been looking for.
I really
It's your
feel like
cousin. Sorry,
it's-
you go.
it's in no way it's in no way incidental to what's going on. Like there's this way in which it proves to the audience that he has real talent in a
Right.
way that like you couldn't otherwise convince the audience. Like it is undeniable, and also you see him switch into his like on stage persona, and you see that like he does have it. He's supposed to be famous. He's supposed to make it. And so I think it helps to show how foreclosed his opportunities really are, and what in part causes him to make the decisions that he makes.
It's so
I love that we get to see another group cut a track in the studio.
Yeah.
That's lingo. Because they are doing it, but it feels like maybe they're resting on their laurels, but they're phoning it in. It is reggae, but it is just like, here's what we do. There's not that hunger. There's not that talent. There's not the effort that he does.
It's a group of studio musicians with no star.
Yeah.
So like even this lead singer,
He literally
is
has
studio
a star
musician.
on his
Yeah, and
chest.
he comes in with a star on his chest. But if you were to tell somebody before they watch this movie that like it's about how important it's a Jamaican movie about how important reggae and ganja is, they would roll their eyes like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, could that be more cliche?
Some white dick named Chad write this?
Yeah.
Not Chad, but his name was Perry Henzell. That is the writer director of this is white.
I did not know that.
What?
But when
Yeah, I didn't know how to bring it up because like but the guy that wrote and directed this is a white Jamaican guy.
Okay, well.
white Jamaican. But when you watch it, you realize why it's about reggae and weed, and it's because how everything else is basically shut down and pushed out. That they don't. There's really so few opportunities. If you want to do doo-wop or anything else, that's already been taken over. That's already been done. That market is cornered. If you do reggae, you can create your own corner. And again, it's not called reggae, but you're inventing. You're on the you're almost like it's like 1990, right? And hair metal's everywhere. And now you're Kurt Cobain. You're on the precipice of creating what's about to be huge.
John and John of They Might Be Giants. Nerd rock.
Absolutely. But doo-wop is, as much as we all love it, I would say it's our favorite genre.
The way those guys perform it, they snap into such a tight harmony, right?
Man,
They look.
yeah.
He's like basically what the just gets the audience up. The guy that runs like the only record recording place in town has a meeting with these guys, and he just doesn't show up to it because he has no respect for anybody else. And so they're waiting there all day. And when he finally does drive by them, he stops briefly, and they're like, "We have a song for you." And he's like, "Perform it right now." And they look at each other like, "This is such bullshit."
Yeah.
And they immediately snap into a really tight 5-part harmony.
Yeah.
And it sounds beautiful, but
I think it's a little not tight as in musically tight. It's a little tight as in their buttholes are clenched tight.
It's just
like,
so
A
weird that
couple
we're
of them
here
are standing at
doing
like
that.
military attention
Yeah.
while they do it.
But with reggae, the thing that like is being created as we speak, what they're doing is they're creating something that's like groove plus message.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? They're creating this genre that's like we can do
Right.
both of these things where people can dance and also we can get we can be a little bit political, but we can also have a good time at the party. And that's what Ivan wants to be a part of. That's what all of his friends want to be a part of. But it's ours. It belongs to us. And that's why it's so important.
Another thing that I think is important about the music in this is it is, I think, a stand-in for like the spirit of Jamaica. If you listen to Henzel talk, he talks about how like this is a movie about spirit. And it's funny because there is the spirit that exists in the recording studio, which is like alive and transformative. And then there's the spirit of the music when Preacher like is in the church, which is awful.
Yeah.
And then there's the spirit of the music when a different preacher is in the church. And then it's like then the spirit is there again. And so we get to see that one of our chief antagonists, the preacher, has like doesn't really have the actual spirit in him.
Right.
And we get to see that like made manifest in the awful, awful, awful singing we hear in his part of the church.
Yeah, I thought it was so important that we get two different preachers do it
Yes.
because, especially folks of our persuasion, atheists, damn dirty hell-driven atheists.
Hey, I am an agnostic, okay?
Oh, there might be something.
There
pussy.
might be something. That's exactly.
Hedging your bets. So, but I think it's used to be
Wait,
like, well,
don't
yeah.
send me to hell. I said there might be something.
What if God was like, those are the people who get sent to hell the hardest?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Pick
Pick a side, bitch.
So what I liked, it does add a level of nuance that it's not that all of the church is evil because it's so, I do think it's very important to the culture here and in the movie. It's saying it is this guy who uses his power
Yes.
corrosively.
Yes.
And like is a preacher not because of the spirit and the word of God, but because what it gives him.
Which is the ability to raise and then maybe marry the girl that he is raising. We'll talk about Elsa in the next segment, but
Not necessarily married. Totally fucked, but not necessarily married.
we got to get into that relationship
But like,
in the next segment.
I think the most important thing about the church to me is that we are in this church, and you guys know that how much the church, especially Christian churches,
Yes.
sweep me away. I am touched by them. I get a tear in my eye. They're so moving. The word of God. But Ivan doesn't seem to be moved by them. Ivan's kind of bored. This is like everyone on the stage and the audience is like, oh, taken away.
Yeah.
Taken back by how incredible the church music is. Ivan seems a little bit bored and is paying more attention to Elsa than Elsa?
yeah.
Than,
Elsa. She wants to build a snowman.
than the church music. He doesn't care about how impact. So it's not the music to him. It's specific kinds of music.
Right.
Right? So he doesn't care about this music. Also, he cares more about the reggae, the one that's created by his island, his people,
Yeah.
not the one that the Jamaicans decided as an island to become Christian.
Ryan.
Did they decide? I mean, I
Are
think
you
it was
asking us?
well,
It was
like
probably
the,
imported.
the
It
history
was
of
it imported?
the history of Jamaica, right, is that Spain owned it and then England like won it from them, and in the meantime
Poker game?
the populace
Yeah.
is just like basically like subjected to the dominant culture. A large part of it was Christianity was
Yeah.
just like enforced on them. And I think that also plays into the country city dynamic because and Henzel, I know this from listening to an interview with Henzel, he pointed out that the history of Jamaica is some slaves escaped as soon as they got there. Like they were like not even slaves on the island. They escaped right away and went up into the hills and then managed to basically evade capture for all time.
Oh.
And so the country has this spirit of like, we have never surrendered and we never will. And I think that makes
It's baller.
like Ivan a little bit more understandable when you realize that that's like the impetus behind him is that like, and that's supposed to be where the spirit of reggae comes from. And so then the spirit of the religious city folk is like kind of this kind of this like,
Indoctrinated.
very complicated relationship with religion and power dynamics and everything else.
I mean, I know that it's a worldwide religion and blah blah blah. But whenever I see people doing Christian stuff, I think, look at that white people shit. And like,
it's hard not to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who'd be deeply offended by that, but I just do think that when you are a white atheo agnostic, you kind of see Christianity in other places, and it feels like part of imperialism. I mean, it
Right.
was literally a vehicle of
It was.
imperialism.
It's
Yeah.
because it was imperialism.
But it's hard because you never want to tell people that, like, you don't. I would if there were a Jamaican Christian here, I wouldn't want to be like, hey, you know why you believe what you believe.
That's not what we're
right?
saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
that this movie is trying, as part of his message, to say that Christianity in this movie
Yes,
is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
we're
That
saying Christianity is great, imperialize the shit out of everybody. But
Right.
this
I don't
movie.
The movie's going against imperialism.
Do you know what's wild? It's not just this. I do think it's part of the point that this movie is making, but so many movies do this. Is during the what do they call it? The lecture. I went to so much church growing up. I should know what do they
The
call their
homily?
lectures? The homily. I don't know. When it's my turn to talk now.
Yeah.
Fucking saying nothing. Boring
yeah.
as shit. He's saying bullshit. Time wasting. Like this could have been an email. It was awful.
And it's kind of the same stuff, right? Which is like, we are beings
Sermon.
of pure love, and everybody else is fucking disgusting and terrible. All we care about is love, and they are disgusting monster
Dude,
people.
churches figured out the same thing that movie theaters did. Buy an air conditioner. That's why people are in the building.
Ryan.
When we come back, we're going to build a Rushmore to the women of 1973.
Mount Rushmore.
Everybody has one main problem with Mount Rushmore, and it's that it's kind of a sausage party.
Mhm.
A lot of dudes up on the mountain, and that's not what we need. What we need is some women. The 1973 women, to be specific. And we've had a little bit of a rule change here on Movie of the Year because of my propensity to get so excited about what I'm hearing that I just throw people right up on the mountain willy-nilly. I've gotten a directive from producer Dave that I must hear 2 people from both of you. And so that's 4 Toto. I will most likely only choose 2 of those 4. So you might want to use a little bit of strategery here, because you might want to throw out one that you feel good about and one that is a liner, because I think only 2 are going to go through. So to start off my first 4, before I am allowed to put anybody on the mountain, and we are all holding this to me, Mike, what is your first pick for the women of 1973?
Imagine it's 1973.
Of course I am, Mike. I'm already doing that part.
Ryan.
And a little group called Gladys Knight and the Pips came out with an album called Imagination. First single, Midnight Train to Georgia.
Oh.
Georgia. We would be remiss, and we hate to be remiss on this podcast, if we did not include Gladys Knight.
Could you imagine? In earlier episodes of this show, I would have thrown her right up on the mountain. I would have said, yeah, you bet.
She's such a woman of 1973 that I am thinking about just saying the other 3 heads, Pips. Make them all Pips.
Okay,
All
and
Pips.
again, see, this is why we had to have the new rule, because then I would have been like, that's the mountain, segment over, right? But no, that's not how we do it. Ryan, who is your pick to put on the queue for potential women on our Mount Rushmore?
I'm going to test out your new rule right now, Greg.
Uh-oh.
It's getting late in the night. We're all a little bit tired,
Mm-hmm.
and we need some coffee.
Sure.
Facts.
It's Pam Grier.
Pam
Oh,
Grier, wow.
We
That's-
have been waiting for this movie all season.
Yes.
We've been counting down the weeks, so we finally get to watch can I just say the
winner.
blaxploitation film, the winner of 1973 season, the clear winner of Best Actress. Step aside, Tatum O'Neal, you short little fucks.
Get out of here, child.
I just think that when you think of the early 70s, like, she owned it. Jackie Brown has already won
Yep.
a Movie of the Year award, and we didn't even know what the fuck we were talking about, because we were
Yeah.
like, Pam Grier, who is this upstart new actress from the 1990s? And now we're about to see where she came from. It's Pam Grier.
Yeah.
Do you know what's fucked up? Sorry.
What's
Greg,
fucked up, Mike?
Oh, I recently watched Mars Attacks, and she's in it, and she's not a badass at all. She's just
Wait, what?
there. And I was like, what? What, you guys? Let Pam Grier punch some fucking aliens in the fucking face.
Pam Grier is on the short list of most beautiful people to ever exist, and I definitely would have put her right on this mountain before I got this new rule saying I'm not allowed to. My hands are tied.
I legit
everybody.
thought I was going to make you break your new rule immediately.
I almost did, but then I would have so little respect for myself.
Where's your integrity,
if I
Greg?
did that?
Where's your integrity?
Yeah. And you know who I'm really doing this
We
for,
nailed it.
listeners? You. Because I think you deserve more candidates before I just put them all on the mountain. So we are on our third pick. Mike, I believe it is back to you. Going directly onto the maybe pile. Who do you got?
I'm not kidding around with this pick.
Okay.
When I ask you,
I'm writing that
If
note here.
you-
Not kidding.
can remember all those months ago when we started, and the first movie we watched was 1973's Brian De Palma's Sisters.
Oh
It's
my
Margot
gosh.
Kidder.
Margot Kidder. Oh, wow. I'm so glad I made this rule. I mean, we'd have 3 on the mountain, right?
You're just a cuck.
I can't help. You tell me the names of fabulous women, I get excited, and then I want to somehow enshrine them. Yeah, she is magnetic in this, and it's one of those things where it invites you to wonder: do you like the woman when she is sort of innocent and demure seeming, or do you like the woman when she is actively stabbing you in the face? And for guys like me and Mike, a little of both, right? We love a woman who can handle a blade on this show.
Which one do I like?
I think you like a nice woman more.
I'm such a fucking cuck.
Yeah, you're a real cuck.
All right, Ryan, rounding out our initial maybes, who do you think goes in the 4th position?
You know what you could do? When you ask for your 5th, whoever that is, you could put one onto the mountain. After the 5th, one can go on it.
So I get to the 5th and then I put one
and
on.
then one goes
All
on.
right,
Okay.
he's trying to host you right
No,
now.
I'm
Are you
just-
gonna
I
let
was
that
just-
shit? This
I
is
was
your
just-
season.
I was just suggesting one little thing because I thought this is a work in progress.
I like it. I enjoy it, Ryan. Thank you for the suggestion.
Legendarily in 1973, Mike was a piece of shit, and one woman wrote 2 songs on one day. Which one shall I sing, A or B? I will let you 2 pick.
Jolene.
B.
Both are. Jolene is B. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Dolly Parton is my fucking name.
Yeah.
Look, not. So many people talk about her incredible niceness,
Yes.
her philanthropy, the fact that she was like, "Oh, I'll give my own money to solve COVID."
Yes,
sure.
dude. Yes.
Somebody's got to do it.
Ryan.
I'm going to increase child literacy by giving every child 18 books.
But also a babe.
But also
Yeah.
a super babe and so nice and keeping big hair as an attractive thing for years. For
Big hair
years
do
and
care.
years.
When asked how long does it take to do your hair, she said, and I quote, "I don't know. I'll ask the person who does it."
Oh.
That's the kind of person Dolly Parton is.
Boss ass bitch. Bitch.
The
bitch.
meanest thing Dolly Parton has ever said is "bless your heart." Right?
And the person died.
Mike.
All right. So now we're entering territory where someone is going to get put on the mountain. Mike, who's your next pick?
Greg, you are so vain, you probably think this next pick is about you.
Okay.
It's
that's a little
Carly
harsh.
Simon.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just doing a little thing. I don't
Yeah,
think you're vain at all.
I get it.
Because we have to warm up into what we say, you know?
Yeah,
You can't
yeah.
just say a name.
a little bit of runway there. I like it. Is the joke behind this song that it's about more than one guy? So it's there's 8 guys who might think this song is about them, and they're all going to think it really is.
The second verse is about Warren Beatty.
The first one
other,
about Ned Beatty.
the other verses are different dudes,
Uh-huh.
and Carly called it out, and she's like, no matter what I say, Warren is going to think this whole song is about him.
I love it. All right. So
Is this the one she called the second verse her Warren piece? Is that what she said?
Mhm.
Mike.
That
Do
point
you
for
know what I
Mike?
actually
that's
heard?
a point for Mike.
The third verse is about Joey from Full House.
That's awesome. Okay, so now I'm looking at my list here, and I'm going to select from these 5 wonderful women. Gladys Knight, Pam Grier, Margot Kidder, Dolly Parton, or Carly Simon. And the first one, and I'm so glad I did this because she was the second suggested, but she is absolutely number 1 with, I guess, a storm of bullets, really, Pam Grier.
Nice. I can't hate.
I was introduced to Pam Grier when she was like, in Jackie Brown. So these are not like when she was like the young hot actress early in her career. In that movie,
She was
she
an
is
old hot
still-
actress late in her career.
Holy cow! What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful woman, and I'm excited about getting to watch Coffee. All
that
right,
was 97, right?
That
I
was-
remember being a 10-year-old seeing a trailer for a movie that I would not be allowed to see for years, and
Yes.
she just leans over and says Jackie Brown and Door, and be like, I'm intrigued in a way my body has never been intrigued about anything.
I bet it's so fun for Pam Grier to just hear generations of men describe like their awareness that developed as they watched her as a young child. That must just be like a really fun conversation to have with a bunch of dudes. All right, so we have one up on the mountain. Ryan, who you got?
I think that kind of like it's for boys. Every time we do this Rushmore with the boys, it's like, who did people tell us to do?
Yes.
And then for the ladies, it's Bond.
Who are the Bond
Oh,
ladies?
fuck you.
And this is somebody who I think her father wrote Under the Bleachers. The author by the name of Seymour Butts. This is Jane Seymour, the Bond girl from Live and Let Die. She would
gonna be
go
my
on
next
to
one.
be Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, who, and I would say that she stayed a babe for decades.
Yeah.
She was the mom in, not Step Brothers, Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kitty Cat.
Still keeping
Kitty
it together.
Cat. Did you motorboat her? God damn it. I just became a fucking, like, Wall Street douchebag quoting stupid comedies.
I'm
Oh,
going
we're taking it back.
I'm going to make my second choice here for the mountain. And the mountain usually has presidents on it, but we're putting queens up on it right now. And Dolly Parton is going straight up there. That was you as well, Ryan?
It was.
Fucking
It do.
hosed.
Ryan.
I am like proud to like Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it feels good to just be like, she's cool.
She's cool.
Mike?
The Beyonce of the 70s, right? Like, just be a fan. Shut the fuck up and be a fan.
Yeah, like I don't want to.
Just shut
Don't
the
complicate it.
fuck
Don't
up.
complicate it at all. Mike, who you got?
I think history has treated this woman differently through the ages. She has a unique look, but I think it is irrefutable that in 1973, the star of The Way We Were was a total babe, and that was Barbra Streisand.
Barbara Streisand.
Strice babe.
I have to say, as the season has gone on, I've gotten a little concerned that we were too dismissive of.
There's a
the
couple
way
of
we
movies that
were.
are like, oh fuck, they're not in this.
It's
yeah.
instead of like putting Tuki Buki aside, I
Yeah.
would say that the most brought up non-16 movie, non-movie of the 16 is probably The Way We Were.
I mean, it
It's
might like
Redford, it's Pollock.
yeah. Besides like The Exorcist, it was like probably the biggest movie of 1973, and so I didn't feel like it, but I also don't really know that much about it. And like watching The Exorcist was a perfect example of like I didn't know anything about The Exorcist. I thought it started with the priest arriving at the house and everything was going to just be in the house. So starting in Iraq was very confusing to me, and it reminded me that until you've seen a movie, you don't really know anything about it. And so
Nah,
to be
come on.
so dismissive personally, because I've never seen it, I was just like, nah.
What if The Exorcist was just the priest, like on the poster, standing outside the house with the light on, just going like, I gotta go in there.
Yeah, dude.
God
I
damn-
don't want to.
like,
His
man,
knees
just
knocking.
You know you got the rumble tums, right? Like, I know I don't have to poop, but it feels like I have to poop because of how much I
hope-
don't want to go do this exorcism.
I hope this house has 2 toilets.
Okay, so now I'm going to put another one up here. And you know what? It's my list. Margot Kidder. She
Yes.
is, and that's you, Mike.
Mike.
She's like so many things in Sisters, but very alluring is definitely one of them, and it can be a little confusing at times, but
And
I
good
love it.
baseball name, Margot Kidder.
please, I'm trying to bat here. All right, Ryan, give me a pick. Let's go speed roundy here. I want to get some more for the list, and then I want to make a pick. So let's go back and forth a little bit. Ryan, who you got speed round style?
Coffee was not the only one rocking the blaxploitation movie theaters. We also have Tamara Dobson, who played Cleopatra Jones. I know that she didn't make it into the bracket, so I will just show everyone a picture real quick of who
right.
this person was.
Another woman making big hair look very attractive.
Yes.
What was the name? Can I look it up?
Tamara Dobson. I'm sorry, Tamara Dobson.
Tamara Dobson.
And like, I'll see you today, Dobson, but I'd love to see you tomorrow, Dobson.
Beautiful woman deserving of a spot on the mountain. Well, we'll have to see. Mike.
I'm out.
All
I have
right.
other women of the 70s, but for specifically 1973, I regret to inform you.
I'm going to look over the rest of these and make my pick. And I got to be true to Greg. We did not talk about her movie. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen, actually, that James Bond movie that Jane Seymour was in. But Jane Seymour herself is extremely pretty in it.
Do you know who she is? The Diane Lane of the 70s. Just like classic, timeless beauty.
And Jane Seymour, that was you, Mike?
No,
That was Ryan,
I was
too?
very.
Uh-oh.
I did
Ryan.
2 giant middle fingers at Ryan because I was about to say it. And then he got it.
Of course. Well, that makes our mountain of honestly transcendent women of 1973. Pam Grier, Dolly Parton, Margot Kidder, and Jane Seymour. And I have to say, when I heard about this new rule, I was incensed. I was like, how dare you? I would never just take the first picks I hear and put them on the mountain. I think it worked, though. I think we got a nice representative sample of some of the wonderful women from 1973. When we come back, let's turn our focus on one of the women from this movie. This movie doesn't have a ton to say about the female experience, but we do have Elsa. What does Elsa see in Ivan, and what does the course of their relationship tell us about the movie?
I think what she sees in him, he is charismatic. He's a handsome guy.
He's so handsome.
And it's
Mike.
her parents died and this preacher took her in, and the entire fucking town
Yes.
knows he took her in to fuck her
That's
someday.
so fucking creepy.
Except for her.
Mike.
Yeah, except
So-
for her. She's never heard that, but everybody, that's what they talk about. All the other people that work with
Right.
him know this. Everybody else knows it except for her.
She's got like 2 high school level like brace-faced sleepover friends, and they're like, you know why he like still
He's a
has
man
you.
of God, but he's still a man.
I think Ivan is a choice that is her. Even if it's a bad
Yes.
choice, it is her choice.
Mike.
And it is like she's in a strict household. He's kind of a bad boy. He's like, isn't church dumb? Look how I'm singing this song, kind of making fun of it. And she's like, hey, I take this seriously, but that's alluring.
I mean, whether or not she's not literally the daughter of a preacher man, but like she is the daughter of a preacher man,
Yeah.
and he honestly seems like the only boy that could reach her.
Which is like,
man.
gentlemen out there, if you really want to find somebody who is fucked up and will do crazy things, let me tell you, find the daughter of a preacher man.
Ryan means water sports.
Ryan.
Like
They love jet
like
skis.
water polo.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah, like water polo or jet skis.
Water polo on a jet ski.
Nothing to do with the urine.
This movie does that thing. Part of the reason that I do think of this movie as a musical or a fable
Took me a second.
is the way that it cuts through plot, right? Like we don't have a
Yeah.
lot of time to develop things, so it does the thing that like
We got 2 different movies in this one movie already. So.
right. So we got a motor, and so it does the thing of like that Shakespeare or old movies do, where it's like, hey, you're gonna be my wife, alrighty, and then we're just like we're going.
Ryan.
There's a moment you can see that happen, and it is the singing, and she's distracted, and then it starts to do these. I don't know if it's like her sexual fantasies and it's her sexual awakening or flash forwards, but then suddenly they're just like naked in the ocean, and then they're back in church still singing where they were, and then they're naked in the and you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if that scene ever happened in their life, but it is fascinating.
I think it is. I think you're totally right, Mike. And I think that your intimation that it is a fantasy is correct because of like the context in which it's shown. What's interesting though is we never see the 2 of them do that, but we see her and what's his name, Pedro, and Pedro's kid do that. And I think that's interesting the way we get this idea that like she does eventually realize there are other boys who are not just the preacher or the
Right.
rebellious Ivan, but there are people who are caring and loving. And so I think it's interesting that like she sort of lives out an element of that fantasy with Pedro.
Right. Like that's sort of like the that's the friend, that's the place that I go to get my emotional needs because I have
you can't get that from your husband.
The bad daddy and the bad husband, and then
Bad daddy.
I hate when you take two words that I said and repeat them like that.
In that tone of
It's
voice.
just the worst part of my life.
2 words.
Actually, I like when Greg does it. I hate when Mike does it. We have the symbolic moment of the sort of the key to the chastity belt, which is the key to the church, right?
Oh, nice.
So
Ryan.
Ivan needs a place to record his song, and the only place he can do that is the church. So she says, I absolutely cannot do that. You are being a ridiculous fool. There is no way that can happen. But
The
baby,
preacher is the most powerful person in the world.
Right.
And if I let someone into his church, that would be like death.
like he is the king of the city
Yeah.
and the king of my household. That's so fucked up. And then she relents almost immediately. And
well,
then,
Ivan does say, choose between me or the preacher. And everybody knows if somebody gives you an ultimatum, you got to go with them.
You gotta go with Mr.
But-
Ultimatum.
but he is saying that I'm going to be a star.
Yeah.
And she rolls the dice not just because she believes that he's going to be a star, but also because fuck this. I just found out that this preacher only is raising me to fuck me and marry me, so fuck this. Like it's sort of like a I'm going to roll with Ivan, but I'm also going to burn my whole household down.
He's my dad, and he's my religious leader. And I just found out everybody knows I'm supposed to be his wife at some point. That is so
cool, guys.
much. Like, you would take any avenue. And then when it's Ivan, and he's got this charisma, he's got the star power, he's beautiful. And the way he dresses really accentuates how attractive he is. And then he's just got, like, something that most other people don't. He doesn't have to, like, prove how cool he is in the beginning of the movie, at least. It just like sort of is accepted, and so she's really drawn to all of that. But I think it's completely because she's only known this preacher.
The movie does leave Elsa for a long time, right? For like long patches, but when the scenes that we get to spend with her are so important. There's one way later on where Ivan is, like the record is big. He's big.
He's such a big piece of crap at this point.
He's a big time criminal, and he's like, "Hey, we're about to become stars, but in order for me to keep up my star appearance, I need some money. I need $2." And she says, "Well, I only have $2. I need it to buy groceries for tomorrow." And he's like, $2? You have $2? That's crazy. I just said I need $2. Give me your $2. And the look on her face is like, are you all fucking men? Like literally all fucking men are fucking like this? This is
yes, all men.
that like her going from she's the person. I know that Ivan is the arc that we're supposed to follow, but her going from what I'm a young girl, this is so crazy, going to like, are you like, this is life? Are you fucking serious? This is life.
A lot of men are basically lions. They want to sleep all day, they want to fuck constantly, and they want a woman to go out and like bring them back food.
Do the work.
And so that's exactly what he does. And he's like, "Listen, I've got the record." And she's like, "Ivan, you sold the record.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you do
sold
not."
already." And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm going to be famous." And she's like, "There's not money in this, Ivan. Please stop." Meanwhile, he's getting like all dressed to go to the club to listen to his own song play.
Oh, this is pretty good. I wonder who that guy is.
Wow, this Ivan guy's really got it all figured out.
To start a whisper campaign.
Yeah,
but
I'm hearing
like-
a lot about Ivan.
But like that's not, people don't like hand you dollar bills when they hear about like that you started that campaign. So like you might be able to like float on free clothes and booze, but like there's no money in the bank account after this.
Yeah, and that's another way. I mean, that's how much the Hilton, the guy that owns the record studio, that's how much he has screwed everybody. That all these people are really good artists, and it's interesting that the movie is going to send the music out into the world, or be like part of what sends the music out into the world, and the world confirms that like, yeah, this is it. This is the sound. Everybody loves this, and yet the people that are making it in the movie are so exploited, just so viciously exploited, really. and made to be like
And you know
fools.
that happened. You know there's a real Mr. Hilton.
Oh
somewhere,
yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. I mean, because like that I think that the movie does capture what must be the reality of Jamaica, which is that everything is already spoken for, basically. Like these new people come around, babies being born every day, but like most of the economic opportunity has been like already stolen, right? What is it? First cow. Every fortune begins with a crime, right? And all the crimes have already been committed like 250 years before the movie starts.
And I think there has to be, and this is coming from a very like I grew up in the U.S. specific lens, but there has to be a fact that Mr. Hilton and the chief of the police, who just likes lying in hammocks, the guys who run everything are light skinned, and there's definitely that colorism that comes in, right?
Sure.
Again, like I'm guessing and projecting from what I know here
Yeah.
and have seen, but it is the light-skinned black folks who are controlling darker-skinned black folks.
Oh no, I think that's very clear, especially like when Ivan starts to figure out what's going on. We go from like seeing gasoline commercials and oil commercials to we hearing like hair straightening commercials.
Yeah. And then there's also the DJ who is also light-skinned, and then when he like does his DJ thing,
Well, hello,
yeah,
Jamaica.
he reminds me of the goon from The Long Goodbye, Paco, who's like, "Hey, boss, I think we got a problem here with this Philip Marlowe character." Like he basically goes on the radio. That's
Is
what he
that
talks
your putty? That was a pretty good putty.
That was a good buddy.
That's my David Putty, yeah. This movie does not feature, like maybe except in some background shots, white people. And yet the specter, because we're so white, of white people does seem to be there. Where did you feel, or is race an issue in this movie? And if so, where did you feel it?
I mean, the church scenes. You know, like
Yeah.
that, like we talked about, like the church. I don't think
Christianity, like as a function or as a reality on the island.
it's hard for me to think about like how these like the Jamaican people invented Christianity at the same time that everybody else did, and that it's I feel like people moved in, said, "Hey, come work for us for little to no money, and then also here's Jesus. Do you love him?"
You know, in our way of thinking, you guys are actually preferred because you have it so rough here.
Oh, good. That works out for me right now.
And then, you know, there is just like the fact that like it's hard to tell the story of Jamaica without the story of slavery and colonialism and like one superpower tearing it away from another superpower and everyone exploiting it at like every pass, right?
And I'm not saying that like there's not crime in literally every country, but I just feel like there's something about this, how like we have to resort to crime because of how everything else has been. Like Galactus has come
Yeah.
and taken everything.
Ryan.
And Galactus is white, by the way.
And then has decided that anyone else trying to take anything now is a big deal.
Right.
Because we did
What
this.
are you doing?
Yeah. The crime period is over. We did the crimes. Now we're all
You guys
legitimate.
should have done more crimes then. But we didn't let you. Any country that white folks came in and carved the lines or imported folks to make the country. Now, in modern times, people are like the racist white folks who say they're not racist. Like, look at them; they can't even run their country. And it's like, learn some history, motherfucker. Like
they never will, Mike.
it's illegal now.
It's
in
kind of
Florida.
their thing to not learn.
Does it even count as playing dominoes if you don't slam those bad boys down as hard as you can?
But like it fucks up the whole table. Like,
Yeah, dude.
do I sound white as shit right now? Like
That has to be the final throw, right? You can't do
the
that
final
every
throw you should do, and you
Yeah.
should yell domino at the top of your lungs. But every throw before that, you should gently place the domino.
But that does take place before probably the cutest scene in the entire movie, which is when Ivan asks Jose about the Rialto, and Jose's like, in fact, I'll go with you. And he's like, the two of us will go together because he needs a friend, and this is the first person to really be friendly towards him. And the way he lights up, like, ooh, a buddy.
We've all been there.
Back-to-back movies about how hard it is as adults to make friends and go to the movies, because that last scene of The Exorcist is the cop and the priest being like,
Do you want to go to a movie? I don't like that movie. We could go to a different movie. Nah. Just like, fuck.
Do you
you
want
know
to
what?
just
Fuck you then, priest. How about that shit?
do you want to just get coffee or something?
I hate coffee.
Is it true that the harder they come, the harder they fall?
Every time I've come, yes.
Because you get knees
The harder
on
Ryan comes, the harder somebody else falls.
Ryan.
I would say in this movie it's true. Because remember that other guy comes for him about the bike?
Yeah.
And he slices that guy up like good.
A
He's
lot.
like, I like how he's very calmly says to him, he's like, bud, don't do this over a bike, right? And the guy's like, no, I demand that this happen. He's like, all right, here we go.
That's the first time it's really hard to like make decisions about my feelings about Ivan because that guy was purposefully, dickishly taking away his livelihood, right?
Right. The thing he built, and he's like, well, nobody asked you to build it. He's like, okay, but I did.
And gave me the whole idea of calling this movie neo-realism because that guy was being a bicycle thief. Like, let's be honest, right? Like that isn't that the movie that created the genre?
Yeah.
But so and Ivan was like, let's not do this right now.
Yeah.
But then Ivan won the fight. Ivan was clearly the winner, and he was like, you know what? 5 more slashes to the face.
Dude, I have to say, this movie, I was once again very glad for the 1970s blood. It is so much easier to take blood
strawberry
from like
jelly.
Yeah, dude. It is just so much easier to take. If everybody had like the real like dark, more realistic, like congealing blood.
If this was Rob Zombies, The Harder They Come, it would have been so disgusting.
Oh shit! Don't give him any ideas.
Speaking of this fight, would you choose? You have a choice here: broken bottle or knife in a fight. Which way are you going?
Oh, which one to be attacked by, or
which one are you fighting with? You get to choose.
I think knife because.
Yeah.
You hit the bottle on the ledge, you have no idea what you're coming back with.
Yeah.
Like, you could have nothing in your hand.
But I do think, so knife, you're like, oh no, knife, and it would probably be more effective. But bottle, this is a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah,
what else will he
true.
break and use as a weapon?
The other thing about the bottle is you stab it into them, and it's like already got a spout on it, right? So like,
and then you drink the blood from that spout, get their mind.
You're thinking of Ganja and Hess, another very, very good 1973
What
movie.
I do is I smash the bottle on my head to make them think I'm even more crazy, knock myself out. They probably won't stab a knocked out person.
Oh, no, they run away. I don't want to get called by the cops.
Isn't it nice to know that
Called
record
by the cops?
Yeah. Hello, we're the cops. Oh no, when you throw your phone.
Why did I answer this?
It said the cops on my phone when I answered. Hello. Oh no, it's the cops. Is it nice to know that record executives on Jamaica are just as corrupt as record executives everywhere else?
This fucking Hilton guy.
There's one group of people that I don't mind stereotyping, and they're all just fucking maggots, and it's record executives.
Mike.
Yeah, the movie makes such a point about how much this guy sucks. And honestly, he sucks so much. And that's the thing. There's like he and the detective together, and the preacher, I think, they are this like ruling class that is really, they are the ones that are ultimately exploiting everybody directly around them.
And like it hurts so much when the white people are left out and it's the black people doing it to the black people. Like now we're a generation past where like it's like the black on black crime like is so much weirder, but it's such a weird part about the movie that Ivan is such an asshole, but the paranoia is real. Like the record executive is out to get him.
Yeah.
The cops are out to get him. Like the drug dealer is out to get him. Like the drug dealer calls the cops or calls the other drug dealer and says, I don't like this guy anymore. The record executive says, I don't want to play this album anymore. You know, like
he's like, this is the best song we've done. Bury it.
Right. Like he's
his like number two, the actual master mixer, the engineer is like, boss, this is a great song.
Like this is a really good song.
I don't care.
I know it's so good. I don't, but I just don't like the guy, you know? And like, could Ivan, if we could like go in a time machine, could he have been a better person? I guess so. But like, the paranoia is real.
Yeah, there is a conspiracy in this movie. It's just not really a secret conspiracy. The police and the army and the criminals all work together, basically. And that's why there's nothing left for anybody.
The one thing that I will say is not a conspiracy is that when he said, all right, army, all right, SWAT team, let's just do this one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then they didn't. They weren't ever going to. Like that was a bad.
That's interesting. Like, because I feel like not only does Django come in to like set up some things in the movie, but it also reminds us that this is kind of a Western.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that you will go 1 on 50 and do anything other than get shot to pieces is so ridiculous and only exists in the like hyper reality of movies. It's not something that actually happens in real life.
Greg, can I bring you back to another Western character that watched a different Western? Back to the Future Part 3. Put metal under your shirt, and then you can take the bullets.
Yeah,
That's what he should have. Also, in
You watched the
Django,
wrong Western.
he had a fucking giant machine gun.
giant machine.
Yeah, get
gun.
a Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Get
Bad.
yourself a Gatling gun. Can do both.
Well, when we come back, we are going to give this movie some awards, and then we're going to give you some recommendations. Awards. Let's give them out. Let's start with pound for pound. Who delivers the best pound for pound performance? Mike.
Jimmy Cliff is Cliff?
Cliff.
What did I say?
I thought you said Clip.
Cliff. I think we're saying the same thing. is amazing, but we're trying to ignore the star, and also gets a little out amazinged by Janet Bartley, who plays Elsa. And this is why pound for pound, she is in such a fraction of the movie compared to him. But one, it's always impressive when somebody can play a character that seems like they are 12 or they're 30, depending on what the movie needs from them in that scene. I thought this movie took place over years, mostly because of
How world weary she gets right away.
her.
Yeah.
But it's just that being with this kind of guy is exhausting.
Yeah, dude. It
And
ages you quick.
She shows it. And she rises to the challenge and owns this movie.
I love it. Ryan, who do you got?
Well, I thought not going with the star was my thing, but Mike has stolen that, like some sort of Jamaican,
The harder they come.
yeah,
Like how he stole the song. The Harder
Jamaican
They Come.
criminal. So I will go with Jimmy Cliff, who the director talked about
Jimmy Cliff?
Jimmy Cliff,
Cliff.
He's
Cliff.
giving me the business.
who. I think that he and the director did a great job of saying, like, hey, man, you have been in student films. It's not
Yeah.
that you haven't acted before, but you have been in student films. Why don't you figure out who this character is? And
Let me know.
and you tell me who that is. And they did a great job of making this guy not likable. That's not what we're here for, but incredibly charismatic and watchable and engaging throughout the entire movie.
This is to fight a straw man. I was going to say that might not exist, but I've met these people who are like, but I didn't like the main character, so this movie's bad. Fuck you, you baby.
Yeah.
This is the perfect movie. I do not like Ivan, but is he so charismatic and watchable?
What I like about his performance, and I'm going to give this one to Ryan.
Ryan.
What I like about his performance is that at first you're like, I like this guy, and then he starts doing some really noxious stuff, and for a while you're like, no, I mean, I still like him. By the end of the movie, you're like, okay, this guy's gone way too far. Like, I can't support this anymore. How about director's signature? Now, I am guessing that we have not seen a bunch of this from
This is my
guy's-
first.
Yeah, from this guy's career. And apparently, this was like his most conventional movie that he ever made. He said, I didn't want to become part of like Hollywood after this. I had the opportunity, of course, but I didn't want to. I wanted to keep my own film production company and get more and more experimental and still talk exclusively about Jamaica. And so that's what he did.
I just want to make it clear to you, too, that I decided that I didn't want to become part of Hollywood either.
Yeah.
That's why my
Yeah.
career went the way it did.
Your
Yeah.
choice.
Right.
I
That's
decided
why you're so experimental.
yeah.
I wanted to give like kind of like loserdom a real shot.
Right.
Yeah, and so I've been doing that. But we know this guy's work from having watched this one movie. So Ryan, what do you say is the signature from this movie?
I'm a sucker for the first 10 minutes of any movie, and sometimes even less than that. And I really think that, and if you want me to pick something smaller than this, I will. But I think that the bus crash is it. I think it's the driving in the country into the city,
Yep.
the closeness of the bumpers, the hey, don't hit that, like don't move away from
He
that
says,
bus.
don't move, like he's on the bus. Like you
Like-
have to let this guy go by, otherwise you're not going to get to where you're going, man.
But like, if you move for that person, if you change for that person, then you're going to give up
Yeah.
everything. It's all about sticking to your guns. It's all about like making sure that he knows who you are, being the alpha. Like,
you can get the right of way if you really want.
but you must try.
You gotta try.
have
though.
to try.
I like how it cuts away from that. I imagine they just stayed there for like 3.5 hours.
But it's also such a Hollywood opening, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the loud music and it's the opening credits, and like you really think that you're in for a very traditional Hollywood movie, and then he throws in these little things, really subtle, really impressive, symbolic things about the movie that you're about to see.
I like it. Mike, what do you got?
I think based on this movie, what Perry Henzell is very good at is showing you just enough of a violent thing that your brain fills in the rest. We talked about the stabbing of the guy of Lange's face, but the part that it does really well is when the motorcycle cop is chasing after Ivan. Ivan shoots him, and then the rest of the crash is from the cop's point of view, and you just see the camera like kind of driving, wobbling because the guy got shot and then falling. So you're like, oh, that guy got shot dead. We don't see any of that. We don't see that his face has now been skinned by the road, but it certainly has.
Do you think it was weird, though, that it faded out and then it said cops on the screen and then Fox in the corner?
What you want?
I am going to give that one to Ryan because I was very impressed with that opening scene. It's also very movie-like in the fact that, like, you can tell even as you're watching it for the first time, like, oh, this is going to be emblematic of this whole movie. Mike, when did you cringe while watching this movie?
It's hard to tell in 73 if they mean for us to or not with this kind of stuff.
Good point.
But I do think it's my boy Lanja, again, not my boy because I like him, just because I talk about him a lot.
You're on notice, mister.
Yeah.
He has a line where he compares Elsa to a cherry blossom and says, if Preacher don't pick it, I feel I will pick it.
Yes.
And just like this girl, again, at this point, I thought this girl was like 14. I don't know how old Elsa's supposed to be. But the way this guy, he's just like, oh, if this other old man doesn't get to fuck her, me, this old man,
here's what
I'll get to fuck her
complicates
because I'm in line.
Here's what complicates this part a little bit for me. His voice is perfect. And then after he says that, he does this like almost Jack Black style, like cute walk away. And it's so discordant because he is like, yeah. And it's like he's so happy with himself that he said this, even though it's such a disgusting thing to say. It's kind of like it's you cringe, and at the same time, part of what you're cringing at is that you're like, this guy's kind of likable. Ryan, when did you cringe?
This one was really hard for me. This pick to make. And I'm about to say it, and I don't even know if I believe it. So maybe just give me the point right now.
Ryan.
Thanks, buddy.
What? Give me the point right now.
Mike.
The movie viewers at the end. I think that it would have. This is like very proto or preto Spike Lee to me.
Yeah.
Of like, we get it, Spike, buddy. Of like, you have become Django. You have become everything that you've said. Your message is over-delivered and meta-delivered and delivered too much, and then maybe even crossed over a line where
like
it's...
we already were there.
Right.
Like, we were there when he's like...
But now I'm confused as if, like, you already knew we were there, and then now you're double-delivering for a message that I'm not even aware of yet. Like, are we, like, double Brechtian at this point? Or
double Brechtian.
You just didn't trust us? I don't know. I thought it was shocking. Like, I was legitimately shocked, and I did cringe. I thought that it was dumb, or maybe it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have to say, and I didn't feel this way when I watched it. I thought it was dumb when I watched it. But when you said, like, double Brechtian, I think it is meta for the people who operate on that level, and it is underlining what's going on for the people who just go to see a movie and then don't want to record themselves talking about it with their friends, right? So, if it's...
They exist?
Yeah, dude. I don't know why. I don't know what they get out of it, except, like, popcorn and candy. But I think he might be doing both things at once.
Which is, I mean, that's kind of impressive, but kind of fucking lame.
So to get myself out of this,
Mike.
I'm going to give it to Mike, because I do have to say, like, the cherry tree thing and the whole idea of, like, if the preacher doesn't marry her, then, like, as his, like, household helper,
as his foreman,
it, like, falls to me to do, and it really underlines how she is, like, almost kind of like territory or just like something waiting to be, like, picked, basically.
Picked or plucked.
She's the bike. To Lanja, she's the bike.
But after watching me and Mike do the Jack Black walkaway dance, I would like to move him to best performance.
All right, let's go for our special The Harder They Come awards. Ryan, what is the needle drop moment? What is meant by that, and what do you choose for it?
So I think in a musical moment, for our Moody's at the end of the season, it's usually sung or so musical moment is like when somebody is singing or when the needle drop, like a previously established song comes on, right?
Yeah.
Like it includes both of those things.
Yeah, I think so.
I just wanted to cover all of those bases. So we have multiple people singing in this song, but then also many needle drops. And I figured that this award would go to a sung song, but mine isn't. Mine is a needle drop. It is the White Cliffs of Dover in a part that Mike had referenced earlier, which was playing in the I'm fucking homeless montage.
Yeah.
And it blares. The song White Cliffs of Dover blares when
I'm literally sleeping on the street.
Ivan realizes that like this Ivan shit, this like charisma shit, this having all the riz is not going to work. And like it's not like a typical 90s montage of like some of this is fun. Heating up a hot dog on a fire is fun. It's fucking terrible. This is of course part of the neorealism, Jamaican neorealism genre that we created tonight and we all love. It is awful.
We created it.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't said that. But it's the best part of the movie, and this song blaring, it feels like the loudest song in the movie, and this is the best part of the movie.
All right, I love it. What do you got, Mike?
I don't know if this is like too dumb, but just so blown away by we hit in media res of Ivan laying down The Harder They Come in the studio, and he is sweaty and into it in a way we've been in the studio before and seen people just be like, yeah, this is my job. And I was just I now want to go watch every live video of Jimmy Cliff I can. Jimmy Cliff I can. It was so powerful, and it was the first time you're like, oh, Ivan is not full of shit.
Yeah.
He has it.
I feel like this is the dumb answer of the two, but
Mike.
I am a pretty devoted dumb person, and I have to say, like, this is the moment of the entire movie, because it's like it would be so easy to see Ivan as a complete bullshitter and just like with no hope, but when you see him perform, and it's not just the way it sounds, it's also him actually performing it, you're like, no, wait a minute, this guy is really wronged against because he has star power, and this is a beautiful song, and it's like, at least this is probably apocryphal, but it's kind of delivering reggae out into the world. I really, it's Ryan, your answer I think is kind of a smarter answer, but I have to speak to the dumb person inside me and say,
my entire life is being smarter while dumb Mike gets all the attention. But what did this song exist before the movie, or was it written for?
No,
this
he
song?
wrote. Not only did it not exist before the movie, they had basically finished filming the movie before he actually wrote it. So they were waiting.
There's like
for
three
him.
other titles of the movie.
Yeah.
First, and then they said The Harder They Come, and he went, wait.
Yeah. The one that the director now says he wishes he had named the movie is "You Can Get It If You Really Want."
And one of the titles was "Hey US, do you want reggae?"
I'm like, what?
An equally difficult thing to pick, I honestly believe, to the best music moments in a movie full of music, is the best fit. Mike, what is the best outfit in this movie? Choose wisely.
So Jose is his buddy who brings him to the movie in the beginning, disappears for a lot of the movie, and then he reruns into him at the club when he's at the club being like, hey, who's this?
Wow.
Who's this Ivan guy
Listen
who
to
sings
this
this great tune?
song. This is the
And
music
then-
moment of the movie, right?
God, I have
Jose's like, there's no way this is you.
I've literally had moments of this in my life, whether it's whatever, of like going up to people that are not noticing whatever I've done before and being like, do you notice what's going on right
Wow,
now?
check this out.
What is it? Great podcast coming out of my phone. Who's that smart guy who's not getting the points? But Jose in the club scene is in matching pants and vest that looks almost like corduroy, no shirt, and then has a white beret with like little black 3D, not 3D dots. I just don't know enough about fashion to how to talk about 3D dots and aviators inside. And fuck, does he look fly?
All right, a strong choice out of a movie full of strong choices. Ryan, what do you got?
I struggled hard not to pick the Harder They Come song moment. I cannot struggle any longer. I have to pick the Harder They Come poster moment.
Yeah.
Which is when he is getting his photos taken.
Yes.
And like, why aren't they, like, why isn't the newspaper printing these photos, which is him in this gold hat, purple vest, yellow shirt,
Ryan.
guns a-blazing.
Yes.
Like, this is the fucking craziest movie because nobody understand. Like this guy, not only did he invent reggae for the United States, but he also invented Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah.
Like this guy just understands how mass media works.
Do you know that
modernized Robin Hood?
That's something that comes from the actual story. So the actual story of the guy, he was not that popular and he was not a music star. But he did do things like write little notes to the newspaper, and he had photo shoots of himself, and he would send the photos into the newspapers to like keep his myth alive. And that's another way in which it's like Westerns, really. Like this is something that like Billy the Kid did.
And 50 years after that, Bonnie and Clyde would be like they would collect all their clippings, and they would try to like almost play fantasy Bonnie and Clyde of like who can appear in the newspaper the most.
And it's another one of these things that is kind of stupid, but he manages to pull it off in a way that's still cool. I mean, so that one goes to Ryan. Now let's move on to our recommendations. Ryan, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation, Greg, thank you so much for asking, is 2002's City of God, directed by Fernando Meirelles. Brazilian movie. It's one Brazilian movie. About
Too many movies.
Group of
Mike.
crime children, a group of children who grow up
Is there a group of crime children about?
a group of children who grow up in a city of crime and eventually obviously fall into it. This movie is sort of folds into like the Tarantino trend. Like if you're really against the Tarantino thing of like guns are cool and quick editing is cool and invasive direction is cool, then you might not like it. I fucking loved this movie when I saw it, and I continue to. But I'm going to read you Scott Tobias's review. Scott Tobias, formerly of like the Dissolve and the AV Club. Here's the story about generation after generation of slum-dwelling young boys caught up in a terrible cycle of violence. Yet the tragedy of it never comes close to registering. It all feels too much like an entertainment, but hey, it's entertaining. And I feel like if you have a problem with The Harder They Come, that's your problem with it, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that they go like hand in hand. What are you looking for in your movie? And if you want a message movie about how fucked poor kids are, particularly poor kids of color, and you want everyone to know how fucked they are, these aren't your movies. The message is there, but it's pushed to the background for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. You know, like it's there. You have to search for it, but really these are two movies that have a lot of shoot 'em up coolness.
You don't even have to search that hard. There's just not some fuck who gives you a lecture looking at the camera at the end. You fucking infants.
I love when you go full Malkovich on the podcast.
So you heard it from
fuck
Ryan.
Face.
Recommending Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Mike?
I do that. That's a great recommendation. That's a great movie. Mine. Do you know a movie that is about a miserable prick who thinks the world owes him something, and is just a shit to everybody around him? But goddamn, is he a talented musician? Is Inside Llewyn Davis? I could not get that out of my head. He is right. He is the best in the scene. But man, is he a fucker. And so he doesn't go killing people like Ivan does, but I do think they're cut from similar cloth.
The more I have moved through life and the more I have observed, you really end up paying for your personality. Like you get convicted of whatever your crimes are, but like when what it really comes down to is if people don't like you, you get fucked. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how much you have in control. You ultimately get the reward for not what you do, but how you act towards people. My recommendation is Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. She spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, but this is not her book that's about the Caribbean. It's about the American South. It's about Eatonville, Florida, primarily. But why I was thinking of it when I was watching this movie is she said that her goal in it was to capture a way of life that was going to be like basically completely erased if somebody didn't capture it. And I feel like watching these scenes on the street of 1973 Jamaica, I just felt like if he hadn't been there recording this, this would just be gone forever, you know? And the actual patois, the actual way people spoke and what was actually going on would be lost. And it would be what we always do, which is we remember the past instead of just remembering it. But he got it. He got it on the celluloid, and we see it there. These are people just like moving about in their town, and we're listening to the way they talk, and that's what she captures in Their Eyes Are Watching God. She really captures the voice, and she delivers these people up from the past for us. So Zora Neale Hurston's Their Eyes Were Watching God.
So who gives a shit if we think that it takes a turn? It swerves too hard into crime or blaxploitation at a certain point.
Especially because the reason
we have this movie and we have it forever.
Yeah, and especially because the reason he does it is because that's something that happened in animated Jamaica, you know. But yeah, like it's a gift. The way it's made in a very 1973 way, which is let's get onto this on the streets of this actual city and let's film what's around us. And you just watch someone like with their hand on their hip, slowly surveying the street because they're looking for somebody, and it's like we've got that moment forever now, and it just would have been gone.
A lot of the shots in this reminded me of The Long Goodbye. Because Altman is king of, I don't know, the movie will figure itself out if I keep this camera on long enough.
Just
and
keep
so
the
a lot
camera
of those
scooching.
moments
Yeah.
of just a city being a city
But
gave me those vibes.
Altman had this ability or like this position of being, for some reason, liked in Hollywood and just kept getting money. You know, maybe, I'm so sorry, Percy Hazel?
Hensel.
Perry.
Perry Hensel. And Jimmy Cliff and everybody, they were like, maybe this is the movie that they wanted to make, but also maybe this is the movie that they had to make. Like, if they wanted to make another one, they had to shove the guns and the crime in there.
Yeah.
You know, like this is what they had to make. But like, no matter what, we have this movie forever.
That's so beautiful. All right. When we come back, I will tell you how these two knuckleheads did, and I'm actually getting excited to hear how we think this is going to do in the bracket. Well, there's only one thing to say about this episode.
That's a classic right there.
That's a classic right there. There's just no two ways about it. And it's one of our classic wins for Ryan, who takes it at 46-45.
Oh,
Woo!
my goodness.
That's a
When you
lot
said
of
46,
scores.
I thought you were going to say like 20 for me.
Oh, no. You guys both brought it. And
I thought, Mike, you had this for sure.
if you remember, Ryan, you got 3 points off the top because your daughter was nice to me.
Oh, okay. So Mike won.
Well, your daughter was legit nice to me. We can't undo that.
This was one of those nights where Mike got a point for everything he said, and Mike everything I said, Mike got a point.
I did often get points for some off-color jokes.
Yes,
From Ryan.
definitely. But I feel like the fact that this is such a high-scoring game, this is like a classically high-scoring one, like 91 points. But I feel like that is reflective both of how good you are and how good the podcast is. Congratulations to us.
Sure.
But this movie, it feels one way when you're watching it, but I feel like talking about it starts to expand it so quickly, and it's like, wow, there
This is a
is so much
thinker.
more here.
This is a chewer.
Yeah.
It'll keep
It's a
expanding.
grower and a shower.
My favorite in my younger days when I had too much ego, if my opinion started to change because you guys talked to me like fuck that, and now I'm like, no, I love this. And cracking it open with you guys definitely rose it even more in my esteem.
Do you think our audience, our esteemed audience who we love so much, do you think their favorite part of every show is when we sit around, talk about how many points we scored, how much we open each other's minds?
We love each other so much.
I do have to say, when I listen to other podcasts, this is something that happens in podcasts more than anything else. Where at the end of the show, the host will sit around and talk about what a good job they did. So I think it's just part of the life of podcasting, the only art form, and that's what it is.
No, you know
books
what?
have acknowledgments, and we are acknowledging each other.
Broadway shows. They all come out and they fucking bow and hug each other. That's what we're doing right now.
I imagine right now all of our listeners, whether they're driving or not, are standing ovation, throwing flowers wherever they are.
I listen to a lot of podcasts where at the end, it'll be like a host and a guest, and the host will thank the guest, and the guest will thank the host. And it's like, so the people on the podcast are just thanking each other for being on the
over
podcast?
and over again. Do you know what secret is? Even after you stop, everybody does that again.
Yeah, after the recording. We really did it, you guys. But I think some of the credit, at least, belongs to The Harder They Come, a movie that, like, again, we'll never know how good Tuki Bookie is because we'll never talk about it.
I don't think legally
Actually,
I'm allowed to watch it.
We, in the intro, we had talked about making it a bonus show. And now in this episode, I'm going to now ban you two from watching it. You are
For the rest of your lives.
For the rest of your lives, you are never allowed to see it.
I'm watching it the minute we stop recording.
No.
You can't stop me.
You can't, Mike. You're gonna break the
Illegal.
rules.
If
And
you
I'll be
watch
like, I
it,
never saw it.
He'll know.
if you watch it, the second you turn it on, you will look at your phone. It will be the cops. They are calling you.
The cops are calling me. I learned.
And then
do
you
not
look
pick
up. It's the little girl from The Ring. She's standing right there. Then you look to the side. It's that really big, tall guy from It Follows.
Samara, no. It follows no.
The corner of your room, it's the Babadook.
Best
That's
friends.
that's just a viewing party. They just all want to watch the movie.
If there are too many scary things right around you, don't they start canceling each other
Yeah.
out?
Yeah.
You're like, hey, Babadook, how you doing, big guy?
All of a sudden,
Get
we
in
get
line.
a text. Greg and I get a text of a picture that's like that one that Ellen DeGeneres took at the
Yeah, we're
Oscars.
just like
Where
pizza.
it's just Mike of like all these scary people.
Then
But-
karaokeing with them.
So obviously, it caused us to do a great show, but does it have an actual chance to win our 1973 season? What do
Now,
you think?
Greg is not saying that me and Mike did a better show than the movie. Like the podcast is not better than the movie. That's not what you're saying.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't like that. Like, it was a pretty thoughtful vibe for most of the podcast, but the end it got very action packed and Joe Rogan-y.
Yeah, it turned into a big shootout. When I was watching the movie before the season started, when I was watching it for this show, I thought it's worth talking about. I don't know if it can win. At the end of this show, the 73 is not that strong a season, and this is the movie that got us so far the most excited to talk about. We were like little puppies jumping up in our cages. I think this has got a real chance to do it.
Yeah.
I think my favorite movie of the year so far is The Exorcist. So, and I'm out on an island, much like all of the people in this movie. So I don't know what to say.
Well, we will have to see. We've still got a lot of other great shows to do before the end of the season. So join us next week, please. But until then, hey, keep watching them movies.
Greg and Mike and Ryan have seen